Hello everyone, Stefan here. I'm a bit late today as well, 6 minutes. Welcome to the stream. I'm not too sure tonight actually what we're gonna do. Usually I spend a little bit of time thinking about it beforehand, but today was a little more hectic, so I couldn't really find the time to think about the stream. So I'm actually not too sure. I'm tempted either to do just another character or maybe just an environment or something. I feel like I could do an environment. That would be a change. Something along those lines. I'm kind of tempted to do, because all those they kind of represent a biome, if you will. So the forest, and then there's a bit of a river, and then mountain, but not too high. Sort of like the foot of the mountains, and then I wonder if I should do something with snow. That could be fun. A little bit of a snowy slope, with the rocks and maybe a tree or something. Maybe that would be something. Could be quickly done, and then by the time I'm done with this, we can maybe think about something else. Maybe do something else entirely if there's more time. So that could be an option. I think I'm gonna do this, and I'll give some time to think about, or maybe I'll do a little item, a little prop or something like this. This is easy enough. So maybe a quick environment. Again, an hour and a half or so, and then maybe an hour to do some kind of prop. I think we're going to do that, and we'll go back to characters next time. I also said that I wanted to try some animation at some point in Aseprite. Those little characters, the small ones. I'm curious to see how much idle you can convey with so few pixels, because the problem is any kind of idle animation, breathing, and the classic stuff that you see in many games, has to be fairly subtle. So on a 32 pixel sprite, it might look a little jarring, since they have a semi-realistic proportions. They're not like little squat chibi sprites, and those they're more, I think, forgiving in terms of animation. But this might be interesting, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do that next time. But in the meantime, I think we're gonna do we'll just start with a simple environment, and see where that leads us. So mountain. You know what? I'm going to take the mountain just as it is right there. Copy this over, and we'll go right into it. I think we're going to do snow and some rocks and of some sort. So here we go. Pretty simple. Not too. Let's not waste time. Straight into it for once. I won't speak about a movie or anything. We're just gonna do a little improvisation. Tell you what, we won't even look for a reference. We're just gonna do it just like this, just for fun. So snow. We're not gonna go white because it might be obviously it might be hard to read on white, so we'll go a little lower. And snow, I always like to have a little bit of yellow in it, because that's for sunlight, so we'll do a little bit of that, and then you'll see as usual we'll cool the shadows quite a bit, have some blue in the shadows, and that should look nice, hopefully. So we'll see. Let's get into it. We're just gonna go really quick and dirty in the beginning, as usual. So this is still very light. You see, you can barely see the difference with the white, but I still want to go as bright as possible because that's what's gonna look interesting, I think. I'm gonna keep the slope. I'll just change it a bit, but we're gonna keep the slope. So I'll just cover everything in with the snow for now, and then we'll see what we do with this. Obviously, we don't want to have this as dirt. Doesn't really matter for now. I'm just gonna focus on this. So I think for this environment, I want to have something that looks blobby, you know, and all weird. So I think we are gonna need some contrast in shapes to contrast with the fact that the snow is very soft. So we'll try to have some really dark rocks into it and see how it looks. You know, like when you're in like high mountains, high peaks, like the Alps, or the kind of stuff you see in New Zealand, for instance, in Lord of the Rings, when they're the what's the name of that mountain, the Caravras or something like this. They want to go over the Mines of Moria. They have those interesting peaks, and they have like those dark rocks that are pretty jagged, and they make a nice contrast with the snow. So we're gonna try and get some of that in there. We need to find a visual language for those rocks. So I think I'm gonna try and keep some angles in it, you know, again, to contrast not only in terms of value of dark rocks versus light snow, but also contrast with the shape, you know, hard versus soft. So we'll see. Rocks kind of always interesting to try and get some interesting rhythm. So you can have a big one, you know, and then rocks, they're usually in clusters, so you can have like a medium rock somewhere there, and then kind of goes into a bit smaller, you know, here, same thing. Try to find a interesting pace of large shapes versus smaller ones. Not too sure where this is going. Still trying to figure this out. I don't want necessarily to go too, you know, hard, but those shapes are too similar now, so maybe try something a bit different. Maybe we'll have a tree or something, like maybe a dead tree, or, you know, sticking out from the snow. Not sure if that's really something we need, and maybe too many themes going on, you know. We want a little bit of a you want some variety, but you don't want to dilute the themes. I think generally when you're doing environments, you want to try and find an interesting theme. By that I mean, you know, the theme here is snow, you know, soft snow, hard rocks, dark rocks, you know. That's pretty much it, you know. That's the theme. Here it was you know, dark trees in forest of two kinds of trees, and that's it. And you try and here is, you know, grass and kind of rounded light rocks and pine trees. You don't want to overdo things and have too many things going on at the same time, especially if they tend to conflict each other. So try to, try to limit yourself to, usually, at least for me, I feel like it works better when you try to, and also you earn something like this. I think it's important to try and imagine how snow, gathers on rocks, on one side usually, kind of creeps up on one side because it's blown by the wind always in the same direction, or because there was a storm. If you've been, I've lived in areas where there was a lot of snow, and in Montreal, and in snow, usually when you see after a big storm, the snow is always pushed on one side because there's been a lot of wind blowing sometimes, and that's something you notice, after a while. So we can imagine that the snow has been pushed up the slope, and kind of creeps up on those rocks. A bit like sand, on a beach, on a dune or something. They're quite similar in behavior, sand and snow, small particles, and by themselves they're very light and very sensitive to wind and to the elements, and they tend to form a very soft, very perfect shapes, because of the nature of it's like if you have like an hourglass and you whoosh it around, and things will tend to keep a fairly nice shape all the time. All the sand will gather on one area, and it'll do this gentle curve. It's just because it's just the nature of all those particles, working together. So it's always good to try and think about how things work, and you don't have to be like a scientist or anything, you just use your common sense and observation. Sorry, I'm still having that cold, so sorry for the coughing. It's horrible in the mic. Try to cough away from the mic, but sometimes I get caught by surprise. We can have snow kind of going in between those two rocks, and kind of like this. I'm just gonna quickly flip this, get a sense for it. It has a nice direction, so that's always a good thing. At least for that specific purpose, I think it's not bad. But you don't want to be too systematic either. I feel like it's getting a little too directional, so we're just gonna try and break this a bit if we can, like with maybe a rock that's not necessarily following this direction, or maybe have something that goes this way. It's just to break it up a little bit. So I'm kind of debating what this should be. So I think for now we're gonna just fit it up with the rock color, and we'll make sure the snow kind of covers most of it, and so let's take another color a little lighter for. So I have absolutely no saturation in the rock right there in the shadow, but eventually I'm gonna add some, I think. And here for the lighter side of the rock, I'm gonna go a little lighter, not too much though, because if it's really dark rock, it's not gonna pick up that much sunlight unless it's very reflective, and at a certain angle it can go really white, like I'll show you some example here. A rock is kind of a complex surface because it's essentially very reflective. So depending on the angle you're looking at them, and the exposure of the camera and all that sort of stuff, you will end up having see, this is kind of what I had in mind. So pretty good reference there. You see, it's interesting how, like I was saying, how everything tends to kind of like creep up that slope there. Perfect reference, I guess. I'm going to try and find what I mean by so you see, not that much like the difference between light and dark and shade is not extreme. The contrast is not extreme. However, depending on the lighting situation, and especially the angle at which you're taking the picture, sometimes you will see a very hard reflection on rock, because rock can be quite slippery and reflective, and so then you'll see that the highlight then becomes very bright, actually much brighter than you would expect. This is interesting too, because that shows what I was mentioning. I think maybe this one is good too. Let me see. Yeah, this is even better. Here's a interesting thing. You see, the shadow area is very cool. You know, gets a lot of reflection from the sky, a very blue sky, usually high up there. But you see some areas there have an interesting warmth to them, because they tend to reflect the sunlight, and the sunlight is a little warmer. So there's quite a bit of a huge shift, you know, between where whatever is in sunlight and whatever is in shadow. Sometimes I tend, if you're not too sure of your color, one thing you can do is copy the image and bring it in Photoshop or any other tool like this, and then what you can do is you go to Filter, Blur, and you do a surface blur or a smart blur. You know, try and find and so what you're trying to do there is try to kill as much detail as you can. You know, and essentially what it does is that it sort of simplifies the image, kind of reduces the picture to its simplest components, and by doing that, it'll be easier to pick your colors, you know, because you don't have all the noise and all this stuff. And so then you can look, for instance, I'm going to pick this, we're going to go here and see where it sits. See, orange. Then we're going to pick around here and see how it, and look at this, you see, very obvious there. Cool in shade, warm. You don't really see it that much because everything is quite very desaturated, you know, but the shift is very much present. So that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, so that's kind of what we're trying to do here. So I'm taking this, and what I'm going to do is just go a bit lighter, and then I'm going to inject a little bit of you know, a little bit of color in it, maybe somewhere in there. It's probably too saturated already, but that's fine for now. Well, the contrast is too high, so I'm gonna go a little lighter, brighter, darker. Sorry, go a little darker, and there. And so it's not a huge, massive visual, you know. And then here we're gonna do the opposite. I'll go image, mode, no, adjustment, hue saturation. There. There's no color in it, so no matter what I do, it won't change anything because there's no saturation. So I can click colorize, and this will actually inject some kind of saturation in it. So now all I have to do is find the blue, something nice somewhere around there. Obviously, you know, this is way more saturated than I need, but that's okay. At least I know it's there. I know the blue is there, you know. So now all I have to do is go down, down, down saturation until you barely notice, you know. But it's there, and that makes a difference. And then I can try and find maybe appropriate contrast, maybe somewhere in there. There. So now this will be my my color for all my rocks in the shade. We're gonna have the light coming this way, so hitting the rocks this direction, like we've done for everything, you know, all the shadows going this direction, and the light, the key light being here. So select all that stuff. If you want to select in Photoshop really quickly those colors, you put tolerance 1, which means I only want that one color, and doesn't matter. The magic wand won't try to get any color that's not exactly that one color that you picked. If you have all of in one color, then this will work perfectly. And you want to make sure that check anti-alias, because if you don't, this is what's going to happen. You're going to create an aliasing when you're so you want to uncheck the anti-aliasing just to make sure that you get the clean, you know, pixelated selections. And now we're going to select everything, make sure we're good, and then fill it with this color. There, done. Now we can keep going. I'm gonna try and put a bit of a lining on those rocks. See how it looks. Starts to look a little bit like what you've seen in the reference. It's not great by any means, but you know. At least we get a little bit of something. I think that rock is that color is too saturated still, so I'm gonna go down a bit. Select everything. Not too happy with it. Try to get everything. Yep, got it. And we're just gonna see the difference. Look at this. If it was gray, you see, now everything looks kind of dead. It's odd if you're not really used to that sort of stuff. It's hard to pinpoint why your environment. I mean, you can tell that there's lighting, but it's a little dead, you know, and it's because you don't have enough of a color in your shadow. So, but this is too much though, so we're gonna go in between somewhere. I think this is probably nice, and we're gonna go just a little lighter, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think that's probably all right. I may end up in the end, you know, adding some contrast or whatnot. We'll see. This is usually quite tricky to find in terms of the right values. And one thing that's going to look interesting is adding the cast shadow on those rocks. And here, what we're going to do, and we'll see if this works, is we're going to use actually quite saturated blue for the shadows. Again, the snow, you have to imagine it's essentially water. I mean, that's what it is, right? So there's a high level of reflection and refraction on the snow. So snow picks up the sky color, assuming the sky is blue, which we'll assume there, quite heavily, and so you'll end up having shadows that are actually very blue. So we're gonna try and go a little nuts there. Find the same hue. I'm in the right hue there. I picked this color for the shadow of the rock, because I want to make sure that because if I assume that rock, the local color, what you call local color, is the color of something without any lighting on it. So there's sort of like the intrinsic color of something. So if the local color of the rock is essentially gray, then the hue that it gets in shadow is the hue of the sky. And so you want to make sure that your hue there, this is your hue, doesn't shift for your shadows of your snow, assuming the snow also has no intrinsic hue to it. It's desat completely, like the rock. And so you don't want to do this, you know, and add more green in the shadow of your for the snow. So we're gonna keep this here, and we're just gonna go more saturated and lighter, because the color of the sky will appear way more on the snow. We'll try and find something in there, and there's going to be some adjustments for sure. We're going to do a separate layer to make sure we find the color first. We're going to paint the shadows, and then we'll see where we land. And you'll see how surprisingly realistic, if I don't mess this up too much, it will look, just because you got the right hue and the right value. Right values and right hue is pretty much your main concern, where whatever you do, I think, you know, apart from composition and stuff like that, but you know, shape, overlap, but a good choice in values, in you know, colors will go a very long way, very long way. And now we'll go maybe a little lighter. Play with it a bit. You don't want to go too dark with the shadows in snow, because snow is, you know, it's very, like I said, very reflective. So shadows, they don't go too. There's something there for now. It's getting a little more interesting. I think I want to go a little more saturated even. I think rock, I'm gonna try and push a little more saturation now in the shadow, because I think we can afford that. So it's just it's very much a balancing act. I'm gonna push the blue a little more. Maybe we'll do it this way. I shift the hue just a bit, assuming there's a bit of color, of local color in rock. Now you see we can afford quite a bit of saturation in the shadow of the rock, because there's also a lot of saturation in the snow. And also bear in mind that our snow is a little bit yellow too, so everything kind of works together as an ensemble. You have to really think about all of that together. And so really what we're trying to do is something like this. Alps, sunny Alps, whatever, maybe. We'll see. And we're pushing things. Look how blue. And this is, you know, the photograph is a little bit treated. It's too saturated, but still, you know, this is accurate. It's just that it's pushed a little more than you would normally do, but it is accurate. Here it's a little more realistic, but you can still definitely feel the blue. And so that's kind of what I'm, you know, trying to get there. I'm trying to find one where there's both rocks and snow in the sun. So something like this, you see. Let's try another one. Or this, not quite right. Sometimes it's hard to find a picture that has a proper, you know, that's been taken with the proper exposure and everything. So this is a bit oversaturated, but I'm gonna just desat this a bit just to be a bit more. And I think exposure is a little weird. It should be a little like this, you know. So then we'll look at can look at this area, for instance, and try and get you know, a sense of where we stand. So this is not too bad. So you see and you look at the value and the difference between like how dark the snow gets in the shade. It's still fairly light, you know. So that's what we're trying to do here. So we're not completely, you know, far off. And this sort of stuff you pick up with time. Beginning, it's I recommend looking at a lot of photographs and trying to understand what's going on, and you have to make the effort of being very analytical about things, you know, making sure that you really make the effort of trying to understand how light works and why things look the way they look. And it's not just you know, it's not random, or it's not necessarily all about there's definitely some artistic choices that you have to make in every circumstance, but there's also quite a bit of information that you can get for free, you know, almost if you follow if you follow the right rules and you understand what you're doing, then you're gonna get a lot of stuff for free, you know. But will look by that I mean that will look all right, you know, without you painstakingly trying to understand what's going on, or going over colors a million times and not making sure why it's not working. It's because after a while you get used to these things, you know. You understand how they work. And for instance, I recommend if you have some time and you're interested in painting environments or drawing, or I recommend practicing gradients, sky gradients at different time of the day. Take a picture around, you know, the magic hour, around you know, right before sunset, that has absolutely no clouds in it. A picture that is a perfect sunset, and study the gradient from the horizon to above your head, and from one direction in where the sun is to the opposite of the sun. So it's two direction. You're basically if this is a top view, your sun sets here, and then and there is a gradient going this direction. Usually this is the warmest area, and this is the darkest and the bluest, right? And there's also, if you look at the sky like this way, this is a side view, and your sun is right there in front of you. Then there's a gradient going this way as well. So you need to understand what happens this way. You need to understand what happens this way. And if you can do that for when the sun is about to set, when the sun is about there, and when the sun is right above your head, then you already have a lot of stuff that's figured out. And the reason why it's good to know, it's because if you know those colors and those values, they will inform everything in a painting. They will inform the lighting of everything, because the lighting is really dependent on the sky, you know, and the sun, obviously. And I mean, this is for, you know, outside, you know, environment and paintings, not for the inside, obviously. But this is good. It's good practice and it's fun to do. So you can try that. Just the gradients, you know. Try to make a perfect sky gradient with a nice sun, and you'll see how surprisingly challenging it is in the beginning. But the more you know those things, the less you have to rely on photographs, and the more you understand how light works in various conditions, the less you have clutches. You know, you can rely on your knowledge of lighting conditions in various you know, lighting scenarios. You don't necessarily have to always look for a reference, perfect reference. You know, it's always good in the beginning. I mean, it's always good to have reference, but you don't want to be a slave of your reference. So it's good to have some knowledge that you can rely on. You know. We're gonna flip this a bit, so it's not too bad. I think it's a little too, you know, it's a little too systematic, like dung 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 dung. Everything is kind of a bit the same, so I need to find something else. I think I'm gonna have like a big rock or something. I feel like I'm missing some. There's a missed opportunity there somewhere. This you want to be a bit courageous sometimes, you know, and don't hesitate to go with the big brush and destroy everything. You know, it's fine. You don't really have to stick to things and be too cautious. You can go with the big brush. I have a good story about that actually. So there's matte painters back in the day. So matte painting, if you guys don't know what matte painting is when you see an environment in a film, you know, something like a big vista, you know, or mountains, and you know, or like a fantastical cityscape in the background, and crazy things like this. Usually, they're not going to build an entire city for real, you know, or you know, they can't go into a location where there's a nice mountain that has the perfect shape that they want, with like all the nice peaks and everything. So what they'll do is in film is that they'll paint it. You know, they'll make a painting that looks perfectly photoreal. And back in the days, I'm talking about the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. Up until basically the I would say the late 90s or even early 2000s, I think. Let's say the late 90s. There was no really or at least the mid 90s. There's no really computers that would generate that stuff for you. You know, you wouldn't do things in 3D or so you'd have to paint it, and up until probably up to the 80s, they painted on glass. Sometimes they had different ways of doing this, but they would sometimes put basically they would have let's say this is your you imagine this is your shot, so that's your screen, and then there'd be someone there, you know, standing, and then you would look at you know, at a city or something there, you know, in the distance. And so what they would do is they would first they would film the plate, what's called the plates. They would film this guy in front of some you know, anything. It's like a black screen, you know, like something completely black. And so the film wouldn't be exposed everywhere it's black because there's nothing to expose. Then they would put the film back into the camera, and then they would put a line, a picture, like a painting in front of the camera, and then expose the film a second time. Basically, it's almost like you take two pictures on one single film. the first picture is a guy and everything is black, so you're sure that. And then the second picture is the opposite. The guy has been carefully painted out black, and then the environment will be painted and will be exposed on camera. And so that's one way of doing. Sometimes they would just paint on glass, and they would put a glass, so you'd imagine your camera would be there filming in that direction, and then you'd have a character here, and they would put a glass pane, a big glass pane here, and they would paint the environment there, and they would film through it, so you'd have the impression, if nothing is a front of this guy, then you would have the impression that this is actually behind, because this would be painted much smaller, so it would be a fake perspective. And that's how they would do it. And I'm not a specialist, in matte painting or anything, so this is a very rudimentary explanation, but there's way more complicated ways of doing this. But essentially, that's what you're doing. But now, if you've seen anyone on Twitch, you know that you can use a green screen to basically isolate someone from an environment, and that's what they do now. They film someone on the green screen, and then they replace all the green with whatever painting they want. But essentially, the idea is always the same, is that you have a real character or real photography. It could be vehicles, anything, all the things that are real and are filmed in front of a painting that is completely fake, and now the painting would be done in 3D and animated and super very realistic and all that sort of jazz. But back in the days, so because there's a point to this, back in the days they would paint with painting, like actual oil painting on a giant canvas or a glass. So you would imagine that a couple of guys would there would be a supervisor, a matte painter. And sometimes they would do it alone. On the big ones, they would do it with several people. And the guy would start blocking out, all the buildings or whatever they needed. And then people would start and paint carefully all the little detail, the windows and everything. And it would take days and days and weeks and sometimes a month to make one painting that would be used for a few seconds. And then they would use tricks to animate this. They would have like several paintings in front of each other to create some kind of impression of parallax or stuff like that. So, for instance, let's say Blade Runner had some pretty good matte painting, like very traditional matte paintings. See if I can, unless my internet will crap to bed again, which would be great. There you go. See, this is a perfect picture. Wish it was a bit bigger, but anyway. This is an artist painting back in the days, a Blade Runner matte painting. Look at how crazy this is. The guy is actually painting a whole environment with paints. There's no undo, there's no nothing. If the guy screws up, he has to go over and find a way to make this work. This is very, very well known. If if you're a fan of Star Wars, this. This is when they go onto Bespin, the city in the clouds in Empire Strikes Back. So you see, this is all painted, and the blue, all that blue tape is to mask out areas that they want to preserve, or and when they want to create, because it was all airbrushed, so they had to mask out areas to make perfect lines, and then they would airbrush on top of this. So anyway, so this is how it worked, And then, so back to the point was the big brush. So there's a legend. I'm pretty sure there's a truth to this, but I was reading in a book about matte painting where there's a very well-known matte painter called Alan Shaw, and this guy was he's a very talented matte painter. Did some matte painting for in the 60s for Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, he loved matte paintings. He used matte paintings in many of his shots, and he was a big fan of that. And then Alan Shaw, he was there. They had a team working on Dick Tracy, with the if you remember Dick Tracy, with Warren Beatty, and doing the guy, the yellow coat, and so they have a big city matte painting going on at some point, and there were a bunch of artists working on it and slaving literally on it for weeks on end, and they were not quite happy. The director didn't like it, and no one could quite figure out what was going on. They were like, maybe that's this building's not quite right, or maybe the detail, something's not right. Maybe the lighting should be a little more like this or that in that area. So and they were there like for weeks with a little paintbrushes and trying to carefully finesse this until they would eventually salvage the thing. And so at some point no one could quite figure it out, and they were still not happy with it, and so they had Alan Shaw. He was a very senior matte painter, very, very talented guy, and so they brought him, and they said, well, can you help us with this? And the guy looked at it, and he was like, sure, I think I know what to do. And so the story goes that he went in to take a roll, one of those big rolls that they use for construction, for to paint walls. Took and dipped his roll into a bucket of paint, of white paint, and then rolled over the entire painting, and said, "This is what you need to do." And the guys, they couldn't even believe it. He destroyed the entire painting right in front of their eyes. Weeks of work of several people, and he said, "That's what you need to do." And then because he was not a dick, he took his big roll and he dipped it in another color, and he started to block out a really nice city with the basics. And he said, you went into the detail and you were not courageous enough to realize that your foundation was wrong, and that's why you failed. That's why you could never salvage this. This is painful, but this cannot be salvaged by using the little brush and tidying up the little windows and stuff. The foundation is wrong, and you need to start over and build a solid foundation for your painting. And I can tell you that I'm pretty sure that those guys, they learned their lesson that day. But that's how it happened, But he helped them to rebuild the entire painting, and they did in something like 2 weeks, and everyone was happy with it after that. So that's what I'm saying, and this is not so you can tell that when I'm doing this sort of stuff, it's not courageous. It's really a few pixels. It took me 10 minutes to get there, and if I lose 10 minutes or an hour, and if I go well, actually I don't like any of this, and I go like this, and I go, I think I need to do more like this and that, that wouldn't be a major terrible thing to happen. So but it's difficult to do. It's difficult because you get attached to things sometimes in a painting, and you want to save those things, but sometimes there's really no way of saving something. You just have to go with the big brush. So long story short, go with the big brush. And oftentimes when you've done something and it's very cathartic to destroy everything and start over. It's a bit painful on the moment, but then you realize that it can be quite liberating. You sort of break free of the past, if you will. and you're in a better, more solid ground to start over. And sometimes I force myself to do that. If I feel like I'm getting a little too conservative, and then I'll be like, okay, now time to that's it. Now time to be a little courageous. I'm not gonna spend the rest of my my life on this. We have to move on. We have to make a decision. The importance of making a decision, I think, in art is very crucial, and I think it's very over. It's understated most of the time. I think people they're more concerned with being cautious and being or being right. They want to be right. They can't bear. I think it's a normal thing. You're an artist and you're like, maybe maybe this is not right. I need to be sure that this is the right thing that I need to do. But sometimes it's more about to commit to something. Whether you're right or not, it's not necessarily what matters, because plenty of time there's no right or wrong. It's just art. There's several. It's just a creative process. There's several interpretation for something, and I think it goes for many things. There are many ways of writing the same idea, and they're not definitely not all equal, but some of them are, and it's just a matter of choice. Then I think I'd like to have it's just the fact that there's a bit of perspective in this guy, so a part that goes underneath, and so rock is not just a simple too simple of a shape. What would be cool is to just a bit of snow sort of gathering in some areas as well. But tricky at this size, definitely. But kind of like the idea. I think there's really a sense of scale that is very important when you're making something, and I think pixel art is a very good exercise for that, because you can paint relatively fast, so you can do a lot of experiments with things, and also what's interesting in pixel art is that the lack of pixel forces you to make choices that are accurate, more accurate than you can't really hide behind like nice rendering and stuff like that. If your shapes are wrong, it will show wrong, because there is nothing to hide from the wrong choice, and so I think it's a good to I think it's a very good exercise. What else is a very good exercise, I think, for artists is Lego. I think Lego, if you look at the people making some custom Legos, doing some amazing stuff. I can't even imagine how they do that stuff. I'm always amazed by the talented people who do some really good stuff in Lego, and you can tell that they have to make really hard choices, because they don't really have the all the little parts that are fit properly, and so they have to make some really creative choices, and also they need to break down something to its simplest components, you know. And I think pixel art is very similar to this. You have to break down things to very essential components. For instance, in that case, you have the right value, if you can, in the right hue for the rocks in shade and in sunlight. Same thing for the snow. So that's 4 things that are relatively simple but you have to find, right? And then there's like the basic shapes of the rocks and how the snow gathers on the rocks. And then you have the sense of scale that you have to try and nail. And if you look at those snowy peaks and stuff like that, what gives you a sense of scale is how small sometimes the little the way the snow gathers on the rocks. You have like those very sort of like thin, spindly shapes, and it's because this is really huge, you know. And but if you had like a much smaller rock, you wouldn't see all that frequency in it. And this is what gives you the information and scale, because otherwise it would be really hard to figure out what is the scale of a rock in snow, you know. So that's one of the things that is a very solid information of scale, and you can do that in pixel art, you know. You can and so it's different if I put those little dots and it suggests a little bit of a high frequency in here and there, then this suggests a bigger scale than if I was not doing them. So I think that's why I really like pixel art too. It doesn't take too much time to do, but there's still a lot of thought process into it, just as in any other more bigger illustration or painting that you would do. So it's a good exercise, really, I think. I'm gonna try to cheat the lighting a bit. Just try and have a big shadow there. The shadow I won't do perfectly nice and clean like the shape of the rock, because this would suggest that there is no lumps and no change in the surface of the snow. But for instance, if I do this, you know, let's say this, it conveys something quite different than if I do this, because then all of a sudden it feels like there is some kind of, you know, little bump there, kind of blocking that shadow, or sort of deforming that shadow. So trying to find the an interesting you know, an interesting way of conveying a form without a lot of information, right? So I think I'm not too kind of happy with that overall. Let's turn this over. I still think those two are too similar. There's something that just bothers me about the whole thing, so I need to find something else there. That didn't solve it. Let me go back. We'll find it eventually. Also think that to convey a bit more scale, something I want to do. Let's try and figure this out first. I feel like if I go into more detail right now, I'm gonna skip the important stuff, you know, and I don't want to do that. I want to hide behind the details. We really don't want to do that. Let's try and figure this out. Yeah, I think this is better. So, okay. Let's rotate again. Not quite. Maybe then. Okay. I think that's it's getting better because we have a little bit more of a, you know, like a shape going this way, and this is simpler. So I think now we're getting a bit more of a something a little more, just a little more interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna try and get some shadow there. And I don't try to be too accurate in terms of like, oh, this big thing would cast a giant shadow and everything, because it's complex enough that you know, the eye can't really sorry, track things too much. So so you can you can take a little bit of license there with accuracy, as long as and sort of use the shadow and the light to make just interesting patterns, you know. Yeah, so this is better, I think. I like this better. Okay, I think one thing that would be important is to try and break this, you know, now. So we're gonna try and get some rocks that are kind of like in between, you know, the and maybe suggest the fact that the snow is not necessarily, you know, is really overlapping quite a bit and in covering a lot of things. And that's another opportunity for, and also in that case, the snow will self-shadow, you know, because if this is a kind of, if there's a lump there, and then it can actually create a shadow. So you don't really have to have a rock in order to have a shadow, you know. So you can actually create some interesting shapes like this, you know, like there's a break there in the snow, and that's really conveyed just by the simple fact that I assume that this is a recess because it's getting in shadow, you know. But now it's getting a little too lumpy and ice creamy, so I just want to make sure I'm not going too overboard with that. Just find the right balance. Then here we're gonna have a nice thickness. It's very convenient as well to kind of separate the snow from the background a little bit, from the white. So see, this is interesting because you can do a little plateau there, like this. And then once we do that, we'll probably have and just maybe do a little bit of anti-aliasing here and there, just to make it really soft, but I'm not too sure yet. We'll see. This so this is getting somewhere, I think. Hopefully you like it. A bit of we'll see if we can do a bit of cracks in here and there. But this is what I was gonna mention is now we seem to have a scale that's pretty large, you know, like a big sort of like maybe someone would be, you know, it's hard to tell, but maybe someone would be that big, you know. So what we can do is maybe go a little less dark, go okay in between, suggest cracks that are not always completely the same thickness, you know. So you see those cracks there, they look here looks thinner there than something that is darker. So it's a good trick if you want to just suggest a little bit more scale in everything, you know. So we can do a bit of that. I don't want to go too crazy in detail either, because I have to respect the overall style, you know, of everything, and try to be consistent with everything. So I feel like I look at the amount of frequency and detail that I have in there, as opposed to this, and I feel like I'm about right now. So I think we're right, and I don't think we're gonna have any trees or anything, because it's just a nice and simple statement, you know. High peaks and rocks, and as a matter of fact, you don't really see much trees on those high peaks. You see all those pictures are very much devoid of trees at this altitude. It's a bit too high probably on those peaks, so I think we're okay with that. here we're gonna do the same trick, going a little less. See if we can convey something interesting. And so cracks in rock, they tend to follow a direction. You know, they don't do like this sort of stuff. You know, because usually what happens is, especially in granite and stuff like this, you know, those are like big slabs and they crack, and then usually the cracks tend to be quite straight. You know, like there's going to be a crack there and then a crack there, and then another slab of rock will be there and will crack here, and then we'll do this. So so you want to be careful not to go too wavy with the cracks, and that's another thing that's, I think, is quite important when you're trying to convey a material. It's not only just you know, the sort of physical properties of light and how light reacts on this or that material. It's definitely part of it, you know, the color, the reflectivity and all that stuff, but it's also how it breaks and how it ages and weathers. It's very important, and that can inform quite a bit on what material you're doing, you know. So just something to always try and keep in mind. We'll try a nice clean crack there, you know, pretty straight, deeper at the base, and then kind of goes and thinner, and then maybe even thinner. And you see, you get this nice clean cut in the rock, and it's really just really 3 colors. It's really not much, nothing complicated there, but it gives the idea, you know. And also cracks, they don't necessarily they go in and out. So so for instance, let's try here. You can go something will start cracking, and then will almost you know, join up again and then crack a little wider again. So you know what I mean? So from kind of deeper to lighter, more surface crack, to deeper again. So a very simple trick really, but and also when you're doing that sort of stuff, a good thing is to just do a little bit of a, you know, use the profile to inform when there's a crack. You know, you can use this and just do that, and then there you go. And if we're fancy, we can try and have a little bit of snow getting on this. We'll see. Maybe it's a bit too big, so too small, I mean, so not sure we need to do that, but here we're gonna do suggest, because I want to suggest the rock is a little clean, you know, and so it's not too bad. Not like this. Let's see, I think we're gonna do something simpler there. Let's go straight, see what happens. Yeah, I think I like this better. I'll go even thinner at the end. So so this is getting somewhere. I think we're getting close now to be done. Still not sure that. Let me try something real quick. I want to see if I could suggest a little bit of a. No, it's not. It's not right. Go right with that. I really want to make sure that create too much chaos everywhere. It's important also to when you do something like this to try and this our focal point, because obviously there's the bigger mass there, kind of sticks out, so tends to attract the eye, but also the high frequency will attract the eye. So you don't want to go high frequency everywhere. If anything, I think there's a bit too much frequency in there, so we're gonna relax a little bit there. The frequency, just make sure it's not overwhelming, because you need areas of detail in areas of that are a little more plain to let your eye just rest a little bit. It's just more pleasing generally. So let's try and rotate this. Yeah, I think it's not too bad. It's getting a little bit weird there. This should be snow, so not white. Just trying to make sure I'm consistent. Yeah, I think this is all right. One thing we can do just for fun is because there's a bit of a color variation in rock. It's not all the same color, so let's try and take something a little bit more saturated, just a bit more red. See if we can inject just a little bit of maybe a little lighter. Not too fond of that color. I'm just trying to find really some kind of bit of variation, like this peak maybe gets a little bit more red in it, just a touch, really not much, but you can see, just to give the impression that it's not a perfect surface, and it's not plastic. There's a bit of variation in this. Yeah, I think that helps a little bit. Not to overdo it, you know, but just a bit something there. And finally, I think we're gonna try to I'm not sure I want to do that, but we're gonna try and do a bit of anti-aliasing here and there, just to soften the snow. I'm not sure I want to do that though, because it's kind of a stylistic. It's a little bit different, you know, than what I normally do. I don't want everything to look soft, too soft, you know, and or blurry, you know. I think this is enough. I don't think we need to do more than that. I think it's alright. I'm not too fond of what's going on here. It's getting a little complicated. Let's try and make this nice and clean. And this, I think, needs to be more snow in sunlight. Yeah, something like this feels better to me. Yeah, I think it's not too bad. I'm relatively happy with that. I think I'm gonna probably call this one done for now. We're gonna call these Snowy Peak, and let's see if we want to go play with the contrast a little bit, or yeah, I think the snow, look how yellow it looks, a little dirty, so I think I can go a little lighter overall. It's gonna be almost white at this point, if not white, but not quite. See, there is a difference. I don't know if you can see this on the stream, but before, after, and there's still a difference between the white and, I think it's maybe a bit too much, but I'm gonna go somewhere there. I don't know, the snow to look dirty, you know. Yeah, I think this is better. Definitely. This feels a little colder too. Let's play with this just a bit more. It's a bit of anti-aliasing here and there. And normally, I think one thing you could do is so just a bit of bounce light from the rock, from the snow bouncing on the rocks, and so you would get, or just you know, because the rock too would reflect the sky, so there's a chance that you would get a little bit of a blue, you know, highlight in shadow and that gives you a little bit more information in terms of shape. But this is getting very gnarly and fairly realistic, and I'm not sure I'm going to go to that extent. It's creating a lot of complexity. So I think, if anything, maybe maybe with a fairly dark value in just a couple of places. But yeah, I definitely don't want to overdo this. But just gives it a bit more form here. It's a bit more realistic. Definitely a good opportunity there, I think, to do that. I think that's it, you know, no more. That's it. A bit too bright, but big fan. I think that's what we're gonna do for this one, and call this done overall. Want to overdo it, you know, even there, like a little bit of light, you know, hitting the trunks. So I think I'm justified to do this, but no more. So that's our mountain, snowy. Sorry. And it's been only an hour 37 minutes of the stream, not even like probably an hour 30 minutes, because I always stop the stream and then let it run a little bit while I'm doing other things, just to let people come in and you know, get give them a chance to not to miss the start. So I think we can go and do something else. So I think I'm gonna try. Let's make an item. So I had this list of props of you know, famous movie props that we could do. It would be fun to for the game, and they would synergize with the characters. So let me see. I got the nunchucks from Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee. Speak and Spell did it. Rambo knife. The chip from Terminator 2. Remember that chip that he has in his head? And it's a big deal. They have to remove all the chips, because if there's one left, then there's a chance that there will be still a Terminator made. The Sports Almanac from Back to the Future would be a good one. I got the Bullwhip from Raiders. Skateboard from Back to the Future. The 44 Magnum from Dirty Harry. The Ruby Slippers from Wizard of Oz. A chainsaw. Lots of weapons. A bit too many weapons. Definitely need an assortment of different items and different props. Let me look at that skateboard. That Back to the Future skateboard, just for fun. Let's go and try and look for a reference there. Back to the Future skateboard. Is there anything you can do with that? So there's the hoverboard, and I think that's what people remember the most, probably. But I kind of like the classic skateboard, though. You know, So that's the skateball. That's what he has when he rides, behind cars in the beginning. Skateboard replica. Okay. Let me see. So the top is okay. That's the top done. Oh man, if there's one thing that I hate dearly is, I'm gonna say it's Pinterest. I absolutely hate this thing because then they ask you to sign up and I'll do all that crap, and you can never find, and then there's never, you can't click on a picture and it won't, it won't tell you where that comes from. It's almost like they appropriate themselves the picture. I really don't like that website. I don't know what they were thinking doing this. I really don't like it. This is the bottom though. Yeah, I don't want to do the bottom though. I want the top. This guy looks like he knows what he's doing. Let's see. He seems very proud of himself, so I think he's got a right idea there. He probably knows exactly. As a matter of fact, this looks different, so I wonder. Not too sure there. I mean, is this you guys think this is a frame from the film? I would say so, right? I would say this is probably a frame, the frame that they could find. So there is another sticker or something that he misses. What the hell, dude? That's not right. Let's find something else. I really wonder if this is an actual frame of the movie. It looks like it, because for some reason I remember him riding behind a truck or a jeep or something. I think it has to be. Like the color of the pants, the cut, looks like it's genuine. Not too sure. This is the truck that we're talking about, isn't it? Yeah. So then that would mean that. Oh, this is Back to the Future 2. Okay, yeah. When there he does the. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is pretty good. I think this is the one. That looks like he's got the Madrid. Interesting. And what is this? Is that some kind of like? Is that a metal? Wow, it's a high-res picture. Well, this is perfect. I think we got it. Let's take this. Let's do a skateboard. Why not? Should be pretty easy. Nothing to do with a snowy peak, but yeah, it's fine. So so I think I want everything to fit in a 64 by 64 overall. So let me see. A 64 box somewhere. Yeah, that's it. 64 by 64. So let me grab that. So we got plenty of room there. It's a bit too big for props. I don't know, because the cars, they more or less fit in a 64. This will not, but that's fine as long as the width is within 64. I think you can afford to have some stuff. Even that I think is all right. I mean, they roughly look the same, scale, same universe. Right? I'm not too caught on too exact, perfect. So I'll go with my gut. Siska, hello. How are you? So welcome. I was doing this. I didn't know what to do tonight. Usually, I have a plan. You know, which makes me think you guys should tell me that I should think about updating the town. We're gonna say Snowy Peak and Skateboard. I can't write. Hold on. Oops. And Skateboard update. I hope this will update. Okay, so sorry, I'm making a mess. You're right there. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. We're back. Let me double check something. So here's something that happened. So okay, so Scott, since you're here, I feel like I have to explain. I don't know if you were there since the beginning, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I was not sure what I was gonna do. On Monday, I did the Dave Bowman from 2001, and I usually I plan before, and you know, I tweet tonight I'm gonna make this or that, but I didn't have time today. I was a bit crazy, so I didn't know what to do. So I figured I'm gonna do an environment, and so I did this one. I did a little bit of you know, rocks and snow and stuff like that. So that was fun to do. It wasn't too hard, not too complicated. I didn't feel like doing something really complicated, and so I did this. And now I figured I'm gonna do something even less complicated. I'm gonna do a Marty McFly skateboard. How about that? That would be a nice prop. So so let's do that. Environment here. This thing I'm gonna call this props. And so I've noticed something the past few days is that pretty much clockwork every day, every stream around 10:40 there's a little peak in viewers. And so just so you guys understand, peak for me is like going from 2 to like 5. You know, this is not like, we're not talking about like a peak or a huge peak, but it makes a difference, and I notice. And so I wonder why. So I have two theories. One is people that watch a film or something at night, you know, they come back and from work and they chill a bit, play a little bit of a game, or they watch a movie, and then they get, you know, they're done with that, and then they're like, oh, I'm just gonna go and, you know, go on Twitch and watch something random, and they find me, I don't know how. Or there's a bunch of people that are from Europe, and then for them it's about let's say for instance in France now would be 7 in the morning, you know, between 7:30. And so I wonder if there's a bunch of European guys, you guys are Europeans, and you make the little peak, you come up around that time because, you know, it's, you just wake up and you're having your coffee and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, and you just, oh, let's watch this guy doing his pixel thing. I don't know, but I think it's funny to see the that there's definitely a little bit of a of a trend. There's a little bit of a pattern there, and I'm not too sure what it is. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm glad to have anyone all the time, obviously. Whether there's 2 people or 6 or 10 or a million would be nice, but 2 is good. I'm happy to have 2 people. I'm not by myself, so it's good. So shall we do this skateboard or what? I know nothing about skateboard. Nothing. Except that there's 4 wheels. Is it 4? 4 wheels, and there's a board, and you stand on it, and you try not to fall. That's about the extent of my knowledge about skateboard. So sorry if I don't. And I was a kid in the 80s, so I should know, because if anything is from the 80s, it has to be the skateboard. Even though, I mean, it came back really hard recently, but I mean, recently, past what, more than 10 years now, 20 years almost. I feel like it's been there forever now. But anyway, yeah, I should know, but I don't know. So sorry if I can't really comment on Marty McFly skateboard, because I can talk about the movie though, if you guys want, but I can't really talk about skateboard because I'm just gonna say stuff that will be probably highly inaccurate, if not plain wrong. So I'll just copy the shape. How about that? So it looks like there's a little lip at the back. You know, is it the back? How do you call that? I don't even know. There's a little lip there. It kind of goes like up a bit. I suspect that's because this is where you kind of like you kind of hit it with your foot, and I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything. But there's definitely, I can see this, so I'm gonna try and make this. It's also more square at the end, and it's rounded. That's pretty obvious. So we'll try to get that. It's funny because I'm saying, oh, I'm gonna find something easy to do, and you'll see I'm gonna struggle with that because I have no idea how this works. You know, I think interestingly, and this is kind of you know, I'm kind of joking there, but it's not really a joke actually. I think when you're trying to make something, paint something, or represent something, you know, I think understanding that thing, or knowing, or having seen it firsthand, or experienced it, or whatever, is actually I think it's actually quite important, and can really help you. I think there's a lot of value in knowing your subject inside and out, not just copying. And I mean, you know, anatomy is the first thing that comes to mind. You know, like people who can paint really good bodies and postures, it's because they know anatomy better sometimes. They have a better understanding of how the body works, and that really helps them to make something convincing, you know. And I feel like if you guys were there earlier, I was talking about lighting and how light affects everything in an outside environment. If you know sky values and gradients and stuff like that, that will help you getting way more convincing environment. And that's definitely the same idea of knowledge of your subject, you know. So I think that's something can be applied to many things, really. Man, so that film, really, Back to the Future, what a genius. I was making a few streams ago, maybe last week. Yeah, I think it was last week. I was making I did this guy, Forrest Gump, which was quite fun to make, and that's a Robert Zemeckis movie as well. Looks like seems like to me Robert Zemeckis, he made a few movies, at least two that were very that are really iconic with a lot of people, and then created those characters that people really remember dearly. You know, at least for me, I feel like this is quite a big deal. Forrest Gump and Marty McFly from Back to the Future. He was such a fun character, and what Michael J. Fox did was really good. I think he was the perfect cast for that role. He was so fun, and had such energy, you know, crazy energy in that character. He's always kind of in motion all the time. You can tell that even when he's not if you watch this movie really carefully, and you look at you just look at him, you know, you don't look at the other people, and you'll see that even when he's not the camera, he's not the focus of the action of the camera. He's always having some fun faces, and he's always very expressive, and has those little twitchy emotions, and he's always alive, you know, very alive, and that's really remarkable, I think. I wonder how much comes from his own you know, improvisation versus what the director asked him to do. I'm trying to get roughly the shape, and also the how do you call that, the proportions, you know, how long it is compared to wide. I'm kind of tempted to cheat a little bit there and do a quick this is how wide this let's say this is oh Jesus, say this is 42 pixels wide. So say we crop this and bring it 42. How close I am. I'm just this is more like curiosity, honestly. I'm not gonna use it necessarily, but so 42. I'm gonna use nearest neighbor to make sure that I don't have anti-aliasing. It's gonna look horrible, but it doesn't matter. It's just to see the scale. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm not too far off, I think. Definitely a little less wide. Yeah, a bit less. Yeah, you can see mine is a bit too wide, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because you know, I'm not necessarily looking for super realistic proportions. I can be a little bit more chunky and fun, so that's all right. But let's take off maybe 1 pixel. You know, might as well. Maybe that's it's better. Oh, I got a pixel there. So yeah, we'll do that. Trying to get that little. This is probably too much, but sometimes, you know. You want to exaggerate things a bit for the sake of pixel readability. It's kind of annoying, this little kink there. I have to use half pixel there. Let's look at it different size too. About right. Round shapes like this was a bit difficult, you know, but oh no, I think I want to keep the round nose. And And obviously you can never get this really perfect in pixel. You just have to, you know, make a little bit of a, yeah, see, this is the one row of pixel too much, so a little bit of a compromise there. It was better off before. Yeah, let's see if we can do this. Maybe it's a bit better. Okay, so so now we're gonna try and how about gonna try and get this, so a nice poppy yellow. It already pops nicely. I'm gonna use preserve transparency here. See this, the layer, this little button there. I click this, and it's nice because you can't paint outside. It will prevent you from painting where there's no pixels already. So I'm sure that whatever I do, I'm gonna preserve this intact without even doing making a selection, you know, or anything. So I'm just gonna put gonna lay out our gray. Or yellow, I mean. There I think we need to go just straight up like this. Do I need a bit more? I wonder. Trying to. I think I could go maybe one more pixel, one more row of pixels there. I wonder if the angle is right, or if I should go. But if I do this though, you know, it's not gonna work because it's gonna be too angled. So, and I don't want to go in between because it was gonna look horrible. You know, if I do, I think the proper angle would probably be about right there, or something like really bad like this, you know. So I think we just have to, you know, bite the bullet there and be a little off in terms of slightly off in terms of perspective. That's probably all right. We'll see if we can try and fix this a bit later. Then we get our purple pink. Now we're gonna put the black first. I want to go real black there, so it was a bit too jarring. So too much contrast. If you go really black, really dark, what's gonna happen is maybe it'll look a little too like ink, you know. But this is plastic. There's a bit of reflection in it, so definitely you know, when you have like a sticker or something, it reflects light. So even black won't be really that deep. Let's go even higher than that. Still too much, I think. I really don't want to go that much contrast. It's crazy because that yellow is so, yeah, this is better. Yellow is so so intense that everything looks too dark. It's gonna be interesting to try and suggest this, you know, like ink splashes. Very tricky. I'm not sure we're gonna be able to get this, but we'll see. I think I'm gonna go one more row there, and maybe one more, and that's fine. I think as long as we're not, you know, too crazy, because we just need a bit more space. Sorry. And then we have the pink, and so I don't know what's what is it? What does it say? Vol Volterra? Yeah, Volterra, something. Obviously, there's no way we're gonna write this, so I think we're just gonna try and suggest some kind of, writing something. Doesn't there is absolutely no way but see, there's a lot of black around, so this is kind of wrong, so I need more black. Yeah, and that's why I was saying that I'm gonna have to cheat the actual size of this thing, just in order to and then maybe we'll try to get a bit of paint here and there. We don't need much, I think. As long as you get the idea. Maybe this, is enough. And then obviously we need the white sticker. We're not gonna go same thing. We're not gonna go like full white, just to save on contrast, maybe. Even though maybe in between, somewhere in there. So we have a sticker here, and then supposedly some extra something in it, which should be darker. It's getting really challenging at that point, but we do what we can. Okay, and seems like more purple. This obviously very very suggestive. We really don't show it as much as we suggest things, and that's probably about the extent of what we can do with that. So we got our thing. Now I think one thing that could be fun is to play with the thickness of it, because this is kind of boring so far. We'll try to get a bit of a texturing maybe there, but I think it would be nice to feel like there's an actual bit of a thickness, and we'll probably have to exaggerate quite a bit the thickness of it, but I think that's fine. So I'm gonna go darker. I think I want to suggest that the light is hitting from the top, and so we see kind of the thickness of the board, and it's obviously way way thicker than a real board would be, but even with 1 pixel, I think. But that's okay, because we're not really trying to be super realistic. We want to make something that looks a little bit nicer. What about we go even 2? Go a little more chunky on everything, for props. I think we can probably afford. We'll see. If it's too much, we'll go back. But I think maybe we can go a little more. Kind of have fun with it, and then we can use have a little less, one pixel less at the end, just to suggest the perspective. This is getting messy, but it's unfortunate, but we can probably arrange that. I think it's all right to go a little crazy there, and then now we need to do some wheels. So they look like yellow orange. So we're gonna go something like this, maybe. They're gonna be shadowed, but for now we're gonna do the just block out the shape. So it's and there's a hole. And then there's the front of the wheel. This is interesting. No. Let's try and suggest a bit of this. So what happens is there's a pretty strong shadow, but that's it's gonna be difficult to do. Let's try and just put 2 wheels for now. So where should this be? Around here? You can even see the sort of the axle there. That means the wheel is quite a bit outside everything. Very, very tricky actually to do that stuff. It's just some light hitting. Let's see if I can shadow this quite a bit now. Yep, I think that's better. So I already want to go pretty deep in the shadow to suggest that there's a, you know, so maybe that. Definitely a bit tricky to do. Same thing here. Let's copy this wheel over a second time. Somewhere there. And I think I want to try and suggest that axle, but I'm not sure I can do it. Very, very hard. Let's move everything a bit over again. 1 pixel makes such a huge difference at that size that you really have to be super careful. Let's see, would that look too much outside? Maybe not, you know, maybe we can afford that. And then I feel like it's weird because it looks like it's missing a wheel, but I wonder if, no, there's no way it would be seen. I wonder if I need to go to still be a little. Yeah, I think this is probably better. Maybe a bit more in the front. Yeah, I think that's better. You know, now that I've done all this, sorry, I'm not sure we want to go that thick for the ball. Actually, let me fix this. I think it looks a little goofy. Doesn't look, doesn't have the nice slick feel, you know, of a board. So we're just gonna go 1 for the thickness. Felt a little bit out of scale to me, you know. So we'll fix this. Let's see with the wheels now. Yeah, I think this is better to me. No, know what you guys think, but I think this seems better. I think this seems better. I also feel like in that case, such a jarring line of pixel that we can do just a bit of anti-aliasing there. It will thicken the edge just a bit, but that's okay. Oops. Yeah, I think that feels way better now. I hope people are gonna recognize this. It's such an how do you call this? It's very it's for fans, you know. I don't think most people will know what this is. They'll be like, "Oh, it's a skateboard," but I don't think they'll get the reference. Matter of fact, if I hadn't look it up, and I love this film, I've seen it a million times, but I wouldn't have been able to say, you know, if you had asked me how does the board looks, you know, Marty McFly board looks, I would have been incapable of even describing it to you. So I think most people will be the same. That's okay. We'll put it in the description on the Instagram. This is a Marty McFly board, you know. Oh God, I wish this call will leave me alone now. There's a bit of something here that bothers me. I think it can go something that's not as dark as this. Just to suggest little, you know, ink stains and. Okay, it's a bit sad. So this gray is a bit sad, you know, it's just a bit. First of all, there's nothing going on, no texture, nothing, and also, generally, I'm not a big fan of colors that have absolutely no saturation. So I think we can go trying to find a bit more warmth into this and try and do a little bit of a texturing or something, just to give it a bit more life, you know. And also the edge, you know, because it seems like the edge is a little bit more, it's a bit more weathering, you know. It's been hit by things constantly. That kind of arcs back to what I was saying earlier about how things tend to age and weather. It's always a good thing to try and look a little bit more carefully about that stuff. Because that just gives you you see, just this, I feel like just gives you a little bit of something, you know, for, just a bit more believable. Doesn't need to be crazy. Slow-mo Veggie is now following. Thank you, Slow-mo Veggie. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it a lot. Welcome here. We're doing a Marty McFly skateboard, as you can see. And before that, if you were there, if you weren't there, I've been doing this little tile, this little environment tile. It's for a game that I'm have in mind. We'll see how it goes, but the idea is to try and have a do some sort of how can I describe this? Some sort of a roguelike turn-based survival game-ish with and having all sorts of parodies of characters, of movie characters and props and stuff like this that you can have in your team, you know. And this would be for the map or the sort of like schematic representation of the environments you can go through. So all of this would be for kind of this idea of that game that I have. Bunch of characters that I did already, and soon I'm gonna try and start prototyping some ideas in Unity, but not that far. It looks awesome. Just found your stuff. Looking at so thank you very much. thank you. It's very nice of you to say that. Very nice. Yeah, having a good fun doing this. It's interesting. It's an interesting challenge. Doing little cars that you can identify as, you know, as famous cars, little characters that you can identify as movie characters, and trying to get them all in sort of a consistent style, you know, consistent size, scale, all of that. And I don't know if you've seen this, but you've probably seen it since you said you've seen Instagram. But I was started doing them very, very small, super small. I wanted to see how small you can go before something is not recognizable, and I guarantee you could go smaller than that. I'm not courageous enough to try it yet, but I kind of want to. I'm pretty sure someone out there has made a Marty McFly that is probably maybe 12 pixels high. I'm sure, because at that point it's just about the colors, you know, a couple of pixels and that's it. Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's possible to go actually quite small in that. I don't know if it would be useful for a game or any specific purpose, but except for the challenge and the fun of it. But I think definitely some people could do it and try it. And so now I have kind of a dilemma, because I really like the small size. It's a bit more stylistic. It's a bit more unique, I think, than those big guys. I mean, you know, in quotation marks, they're not really that big. I mean, they're around 64 high, a bit more for some. Like Darkness here is way bigger, probably 80 pixel. How about 80? Yeah, see, with the staff and everything is 86, you know. But generally they're around the 64 high, and so they're comparatively big to those guys, but they're not huge. But I feel like even though there's some interesting poses you can make, and definitely there are things you gain from this size in terms of how recognizable they are, how interesting they are. They're a bit more interesting and a bit more intricate, but they have a less of a unique style, I think. So I'm kind of kind of debating right now what should I do. And so far I've come to the conclusion that I want to try and do some little idle animations, little attack animations, very simple for those guys, and maybe use these as the sort of the characters that you see on the, you know, where the action takes place, and maybe use those for more of a sort of a character sheet and slash you know, a presentation, unlock purpose or something. There might be something in there. I'm not sure. This is the character, so the great change. It looks great. This example. Yeah, it is interesting, and like I was saying, if you were there earlier, but I think it's really I think something that many artists should probably try and do at some point in their life. You know, even if you're doing like big, you know, high-res illustrations, and I do some of that, and I've done some of that in the past quite a bit. In my job, but I feel like concept art is like Lego is it really forces you to make some drastic choices, you know, some strong choices. You can't really just hide. There's nowhere to hide at that size, you know. You have to decide things. You can't just render and hope for the best, you know. So I think there's value to this. And there's also value in finding what's important, you know. You have to, like, for instance, like I was saying here, you know, just a bit of weathering. It actually helps a lot in there, I feel. And there's only a few pixels, but I feel like it forces you to try and look at things a little bit more carefully, you know, look at your reference and find what's important there, and not just glance at them, but more analyze a little bit more, you know. And you can't be too literal. You just have to, because you just don't have enough pixels, so you have to do a lot of interpretation. So that's also a good thing, because you kind of take the essence of something and try to boil it down, you know, and get rid of everything that's not absolutely essential. So it's I definitely like doing this. I mean, this is how I started a long time ago. I was doing stuff on the Atari ST Amiga in Europe, back in Europe, and and even before that, a little bit on the C64. So definitely, I mean, back then there was so little colors, so few pixels that that's how people used to do it. And now we have way better tools to do pixel art, so that's also very cool. So I think there's an interesting resurgence in pixel art, because the tools allow you to do things that are, or even the technology, you know, the number of pixels, number of you're not limited to super small pads, so you can do things that are a little more sophisticated. So there's interesting stuff happening. Lots of tremendous artists out there. I'm always amazed looking at the stuff that some people do, whether it is for games or just for themselves, you know. Skateboard. So yeah, I mean, I think sure, is there more than I should do for this guy? I feel like it looks a little fat though. Still, I wonder if we should try to get rid of 1 pixel. I have to arrange the nose a little bit, but I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is more like, I don't know, what do you think? I think this is a bit better. I wonder if I should just try and fix that nose a bit. Maybe a little better, I think. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. You got that right. it forces you to go back to the basics, you know. And I think a lot of artists, I mean, have been guilty of that too. They, you know, it's easy to skip the foundation, you know, to go right into the fun stuff, you know, rendering and doing all the little details, and you tend to go into autopilot mode, you know. You paint and then you're kind of you don't really at that point you sort of unplug your brain almost. But sometimes you doing this, I feel like you're doing a lot of scribbling and not much painting, you know. And sometimes your foundation is downright wrong, and then it's getting difficult to come back from that, you know. And no amount of rendering and or detailing will salvage this. As telling earlier the story about Ellen Shaw, famous matte painter, and Dick Tracy, who got called by a bunch of people to by some matte painting artists, you know, who were struggling with Dick Tracy painting a massive. I think the painting was probably about, I would say, at least it was something like 20 feet wide, you know, like a huge painting. And then they were struggling, couldn't get it right, and they had to work for weeks and weeks, and they couldn't quite know what was wrong about it. And then Ellen Shaw came in with his roller brush, you know, the one you use to paint your walls, and dipped it in a bucket of white paint, and went across the entire thing and said, "This is where you need to. That's what you need to do. Start over." But then he went on and then helped them start over and block the city. It was a city painting, block it in again, and all that stuff. Crazy, really crazy. But yeah, there's definitely sometimes you have to do that, you know. Let's do a bit of a shadow just for fun there. I'm gonna put it black shadow, doesn't matter. And then we'll play with the opacity. Oops. Just to ground it. Shadows are always a bit tricky in perspective like this. Should I include the wheels? I don't want this tangent with the wheels, you know. So, but then this may look too high. Maybe that's alright. I think we can do that. I want to go too deep with that. It's just to ground this a bit. There, just a little prop, just for fun. There you go. Then what else? Is there anything I should do? Oh, I hate those little pixels, you know, and they don't cooperate. Alf, you know, it's like that. You just have to do it. I try not to put so there's really different schools in pixel art. I mean, many different schools. Personally, I try not to put too much anti-aliasing everywhere, because I kind of like the blocky aspect of things, just visually. It's just a preference. And also, I feel like when you have a lot of anti-aliasing, I have a little bit there. I'll show you at this side. But I feel like when you have too much, things tend to get a bit blurry. I really don't like it. So I try to keep things fairly sharp, and sorry, at the detriment of of being sometimes clean, perfectly clean. But it's kind of a choice, personal preference. It really depends on. I think there's really no right or wrong. It's more of a preference thing. Some people they like their pixel art to be super tight and very very lots of anti-aliasing everywhere, all clean. Some people they tend to, and also I work at a fairly small size, so for me I don't I can't really afford to have too much anti-aliasing. It gets very blurry very quickly. So yeah, what else could I talk about? I think I'm gonna be done. So we did this guy and we did this, two little things. It's a little different today, but it was still some good fun. I can show you some of it if you're still around. Kind of talk a little bit about all the different characters, see if you recognize them. I'm always curious. I do that. I think people who come regularly, they must be sick of me doing this. I'm sorry in advance. But I like doing this because it's good for me to see if people can recognize the characters and what they think. So that's let me see if you want to tell me if there's people that you think you can't recognize, or maybe you don't know the movie either, it could be, but or maybe you know the movie but you think the character kind of looks a little off. Feel free to I'm just gonna pan around for a minute, and feel free to tell me if you see anything. Otherwise just move on. But the small ones I have also actually I did this for a friend. It was all Michael Jackson stuff that I did for a friend, because he's a big Michael Jackson fan, and he was like, can you make me a bunch of Michael Jackson so I can put them on a t-shirt? Yeah, I did Michael Jackson in different all that. Let me get rid of the big ones. Yeah, I did Michael Jackson in different eras and different albums. Yeah. This is Donald Trump, and this is Barack Obama. He says goodbye and he says amen. So that was fun. This is a bunch of other guys. Let me go back to brighter. I'm gonna go like this maybe. This is from Rock Horror Picture Show, and back then I was doing two versions, oftentimes two outfits or two different. This is Carrie before and after she takes the bucket of blood on the head. Poor girl. That was a terrible scene. But then she kills everyone, so that's fine. And that's The Deer Hunter. I really love that movie. One of my favorite. Yeah. Yeah. This is The Deer Hunter. This is Valeria in Conan. I really love Conan, the first one. I don't like the second one, but I really like the first one, the John Milius one. And that's her when she's in her regular thief, kind of like outfit, and that's at the very end when she gets in, and there's little wings on the head when she helps Conan, because he's about to get killed, and she parries one blow, and comes back from Valhalla for that. Some Blade Runner, some Taxi Driver, Ripley in the first movie, Alien, with the Cat Jonesy in the second one, with the flamethrower. That's crazy Doctor Strangelove. Sorry about the Nazi sign, but that's just what he is in the movie, and it's hilarious. You have to watch it. It's a comedy, so it's nothing serious there. Doctor Strange of Stanley Kubrick. Princess Buttercup from Princess Bride, a movie that I love dearly too, really fun. Barbarella, this is from 2001. Bowman and Frank Poole. Indy, obviously, and then Conan in his drifter look, and in his more like a Rambo 2. So yeah, a bunch of that's Wizard of Oz, Dirty Harry, Sarah Connor, Mad Max, Ash Williams from Inconceivable. Ash Williams from the Evil Dead, and Easy Rider. That's the Flash Gordon from the 80s. Tron, the old Tron. That's Clockwork Orange. Damien from The Omen. This is from Fright Night, little 80s movies, a comedy horror that I really like. A very fun film. That's Peter Vincent in his two different outfits from the film. Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. That's Misery from not Misery. Yeah, that's Annie Wilkes from Misery, from the movie Misery. That's Ferris Bueller. Very fun movie too, so fun. And then Wizard of Oz, Jessica Rabbit. Yeah, so Terminator, Swan from The Warriors, Boomstick. Yeah, the boomstick is definitely there for sure. You have to have the boomstick, the 12 gauge. There you go. That's from another John Carpenter movie that is really good, that I really like. Jack Burton, Big Trouble in Little China, and this is our friend Jason Voorhees in The Dentist in Marathon Man. It's Tom Cruise as Maverick. Actually, Top Gun 2, they're filming Top Gun 2 right now. He's a righteous dude. Yep. Big Trouble. Yeah, right? It's such an underrated movie, I feel like. Big Trouble. I know a lot of people that they kind of know about the movie, but they've never seen it, you know, and it's just such a unique, it's such a crazy film, and it's that's what I think, that's what I love really about John Carpenter. He just doesn't care. He I feel like this guy has always done the movies that he wanted to make. You know, and I guess you could say that, you know, obviously every director wants to make the movie that he wants to make. I mean, that sounds like it. But I think a lot of guys, they end up compromising because, you know, they get a good opportunity to work on a big budget or whatnot. And it's not I'm not criticizing their choices or anything, but I'm saying it's rare that you feel the amount of freedom. Whether I'm right or wrong, maybe I'm completely off there. I don't know. It's just a feeling. But I feel like you never quite feel the amount of freedom as much as in John Carpenter's movie. I feel like they always seem completely genuine, good or bad, as a matter of fact. There are some that are better than others, definitely, but I feel they all feel genuine to me. Yeah, and but also I think that's the 80s, you know, and that's why also something that I probably didn't mention. I'm kind of an old fart, so bear with me. That's where you see a lot of characters from the 80s or before. Lo Chiang, yeah. Yeah, he was great, this guy. But yeah, like everyone in Big Trouble. Um, and But yeah, so I make a lot of characters from the 80s or before, because it's got really fond memory from the 80s. I was a kid then, and I was watching a lot of movies. But I like the kind of the craziness, and sometimes even the grittiness that you find. Like the 70s were very gritty time for movies. Lots of very hard films like Deliverance, The Deer Hunter, the William Friedkin movies like French Connection, things like Cruising, all those films like Midnight Cowboy. Very hard films, very gritty, kind of like tough and unforgiving. And the 80s were more hopeful and crazy and fun. So I like both decades, but I felt like the 80s were kind of a turnaround from the 70s. Girls, yeah. They had to have the green eyes, right? Yeah. Yeah, John. But my favorite, though, however, I have to say my favorite John Carpenter movie is The Thing, hands down. I think The Thing is just, I just love this film. It's a more serious tone that he would normally do. I mean, there's still the kind of like, I mean, that's Kurt Russell, right? I think he always brings this sort of, a tongue-in-cheek humor, kind of like a badass guy that is a lot of fun. And even in his role of MacReady in The Thing, I think you can still feel the Kurt Russell there from Big Trouble a little bit, the way he spills his whiskey into the computer. I mean, all that stuff. But it's definitely a more serious tone for John Carpenter. But I think this film is spot on so many levels. I really love it. And as a matter of fact, I made a MacReady. Let me show you. Where is he? Where are you, MacReady? Get this. So many layers now. Everything on one page. Yeah, MacReady with a crazy hat when he's flying the helicopter. This was such a fun idea too. I mean, I wonder. Like, I always wonder when I look at this. Let's look at MacReady again. MacReady, The Thing. I always wonder where that stuff comes from. Like the hat. Like who came up with this crazy hat for a guy who's working in Antarctica on a base? Like this not practical for over there. It's just definitely something that makes him a character. Without the hat, I mean, he's just a regular dude, but the hat made such a difference. I really always wonder where that stuff comes from. Some random costume designer thought about that, or maybe the actor had the hat somewhere and he said, hey, how about if I wear this? Who knows? It's kind of fun to I love reading about how films are made and all the little anecdotes and the backstories, because sometimes you realize how much of randomness and accidents and generally unpredictability gets into the making of films. And sometimes the things that you think are amazing and that people praise as a genius from a director is a complete accident and was never actually intended even. So that's it's always funny. Yeah, MacReady. It's a remake from a 1950 something film from was it John Howard something? Oh man, hold on, Howard something. The Thing, 1950. Okay, we're gonna have to 51. Yeah, The Thing from Another World. Who made this? Christian Wow, I had no idea. No, I must be mistaken. That another guy. Oh, okay, Howard Hawks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Howard Hawks was in it, so I don't know why they say that it's directed by Howard Hawks. Did he write it? I don't know. Anyway, this is a remake, and then this was remade in 1982 by Carpenter, and then remade again recently, which honestly wasn't the best idea that they had right there, but you know, whatever. Remakes, you know, reboots. At some point I'll make one right, I'm sure. I'm sure they will, maybe, but so far not so much. It's very hard to, I think it's close to impossible to make a good, I mean, you know, at some point, you know, they're gonna try and reboot Back to the Future. You know, they're gonna do this, you know, and that's not gonna go with me. I'm not gonna like this for one bit, but you know they're gonna try. That's guaranteed, you know. But hey, you know, maybe I'll get it right this time. It's very hard though. It's just I feel like it's almost like you have to, if you make a reboot, you have to change everything almost, you know, because. But then if you do that, people complain because it's not the same and they don't recognize the old one. But if you're too close to the old one, then people are like, well, what's the point of remaking it? So it's just, I think there's just no win in that situation. I can't really think of a good reason, except, you know, money, obviously. I mean, we know why they're making this, but from a creative standpoint, I don't really get it, you know. The whole reboot remake. Sometimes I just want to tell people, just go watch the old one. You know, it's on Netflix. You'll have a way better time, and it's free. So why not? You know, and then maybe go watch the remake after that. And yeah, I think the only thing though, I have to say, I think the one positive thing about reboots, in my opinion, is that it can sometimes pique the curiosity of younger viewers, and then they want to go back and watch the original, and then they realize how much better it was, and then they fall in love just like we did when we were younger with a certain film. So I think there may be some values to this, at least to bring back the name to people, because it's normal, you know, if you were born in 2000 and people are saying Mad Max, you're like, what? It's like, who cares, you know? But then, here's a good one. Actually, there's a good one. I actually think that, but again, it's the same director, which is interesting. Like, and he made, it took him like 20 years of development hell to try and reboot his goddamn Mad Max. But Mad Max, the latest Mad Max, Road Fury, compared to Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, I think is a very decent film. I really enjoyed it. I thought he had the same sort of like unapologetic, crazy violence, and but it didn't feel gratuitous. I think there was a lot of really interesting things in it, and I felt the character of Mad Max was Max was very close to what he was in and the Road Warrior. You know, very laconic character, barely speaks. I thought that was spot on. I think Miller here did an awesome job. Really, I was super impressed with this film. So yeah, I think that's a good. Actually, just realized that this is probably a very good reboot. I'm glad they did that. But many times, like Fright Night was absolutely abysmal. But I hope that some people who, you know, never knew the 1986 one, they'll go back now and watch it because it was such a fun movie. Anyway, I feel like I could talk forever about that stuff. About close to 3 hours now. I don't know, I want to start something else right now, especially with that call. It's a little late for me now. So probably close to ending this. And so we've done two things. It's better than nothing, you know. One thing at a time. Maybe we'll get some sort of game one day. Who knows? I hope so. Certainly. So I think I'm gonna end it now. And if you guys don't know, I stream always 3 times a week. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, so West Coast. But you don't have to know and do the math or the conversion to your local time, because below the stream there's a little countdown, and that works for your local time. It's adjusted to your local time, so you don't have to worry about that. You'll always know if you check this. You'll know how many days, hours, whatever, before the next stream. And then I think soon I'm gonna start streaming more often, maybe every day, except for weekends. We'll see how it goes, because I want to really make progress on that project, you know. So the more I work, the more I get things done, and it's good to have people with me here. It's really a lot of fun. So thanks everyone who were there, and even if it was for 5 minutes, it was nice. And I hope you'll come back if you like what you've seen, and hit the follow button. It will help me a little bit, or spread the word, because the more people I get, the more chances I have to make the project known, because that's also one of the goals. And thanks, Slow Mo Veggie. I really appreciate you chatting and following. It's very cool to have people jamming in the chat a little bit, so that's definitely a good thing. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys now 2 days from now on Friday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. I don't know what I'm gonna do. If you guys always have ideas or characters that you like from the 80s or earlier, movie characters that you think would be good, you can always send me a whisper on Twitch or Instagram, whatever, Twitter, anything, and I'll definitely take this into account. Or if you want to see me do more environments or things, that's fine too. We need all of it. So don't hesitate. Okay. So thanks again. I'll see you now on Friday, and you have a good time until then. Thanks. Bye.